Yo, what's going on, everybody? AA Ron here.
Raider Pete, hello.
Welcome back to PanNerdia, and welcome back to another Better Call Saul Season 5 breakdown. And we're on Episode 5, I believe, Dedicado Max, which is the title of the episode, meaning dedicated to Max.
Yes.
And Max being...
believed to be Gus's lover
friend,
that was murdered in front of him by the Salamanca family.
Yep,
the head of it.
Or the Don, and the guy from Scarface. And
I wonder if that was the location where we find Mike at the beginning of that happening. Like, did that happen there in that courtyard where the guy was killed?
Remember, it was in the pool.
Oh, it was in. Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah, that's right. He got him back. Down. That's right. The revenge happened in the same place. Okay.
Yeah, over
right
at the cartel house.
Yes.
Yeah. But that's where it starts off. Actually, it starts off not at the cartel house, but in Mexico at a fountain in a little village dedicated to Max, built by Gus as the silent benefactor, and where Mike is currently being healed at. And he kind of stumbles around and tries to get his grounds and figure out where he's at, but ends up running into like an older lady who doesn't speak any English, and kind of doesn't know where he's at, so he decides to roam and walk away from the town. And well, the doctor from Breaking Bad ends up discovering him in a little smart car. Whips around the corner, out in like the field desert of Mexico.
And the fellow that plays him, I think, maybe put on a little weight.
Yeah.
Much like characters do when you put off.
Todd.
Yeah,
and,
that's the perfect example.
Yeah, very much so. Just for a couple, he had a eating spell. 6 months.
It probably made his little car even more entertaining when he got out,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he said, the guy in the little car. It was like bright yellow and everything. Anywho, that's where we kind of we start off the episode where we last left off, and finally figuring out where Mike's at. We figured it was in Mexico, and actually finally giving a little progress to Mike's story this season with this episode. And we'll get back to what happens with him, but for now we'll jump back over to Saul and Kim's little dance they're doing as they're setting up the playing field to get Kevin and the rest of Mesa Verde off of Mr. Acker's back, the guy who's holding down the land, the plot over there at that site they need for that bank. Well, it starts off with a nice little funny roundabout that Saul's cooking up, and man, this episode have tons of those little roundabouts. I mean, he's really working it, man. Everything from being able to call out the guy, Kevin, and everything he is, calling him a side sitter, to setting up a bunch of other things from like ancient burial dig sites.
The artifact was my favorite part.
Oh yeah, the Jesus artifact where he basically was like. Are you talking about, that?
No, I was talking about the pottery and stuff. I thought was really classic. This has to be examined for like a week or so. And
to like the Jesus spray paint, which they made it look like some mold was growing on the side of the house, and had the a blessed site.
Saul got really creative. Just put it that way. What happened after that one? There was like 3 or 4 things that he did.
There was a couple more that were pretty funny, man. I mean, and then he did this whole thing where he did like a Heisenberg and like. Used a bunch of small batteries from smoke detectors, and ground them up, and then let them fall down his pant leg as he was outside looking at stars, just to make sure the cops who were watching the house, to make sure.
Definitely a Walter White concoction.
It was.
But of course, it makes the land radioactive
the soil
once the sensors go over it.
Yeah, I mean, it was just genius. And perfect stuff with Saul in this episode. All part of Jim and Kimmy's plan to rile up Kevin. And actually, Kim even tells Kevin about the fact that Jimmy is the lawyer backer. Yeah. And, Kevin, you would think he would just kind of be already on the suspicious of Kim, but he's not. So Kim must be in really good standing with him, because he just doesn't even go to that whatsoever. He goes straight to, Acker hired him on purpose. He wants a battle. It's like, all right, man, whatever. Obviously, we see more as the audience, but all in all, you would think just be, what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. You would think, but I guess not. Either way, Kevin's totally convinced that Acker's on him. And
maybe he truly is just a good old boy Eagle Scout with no blemishes, but We'll talk about that later.
Oh man, Jimmy Saul, he's such a clown. So essentially, we find out why Mike's there from the doctor. It's because Gus wants him alive, and Mike is pretty much like, well, it's for some reason. He always has a reason. There's something behind his cold, calculated eyes. Well, I'll just go ahead and say it now. We find out from Gus later that it's because he is who he is, and he can't help it. He's going to be who he is. But to him, he's not as bad as how bad the cartel is.
Right.
And that's how we kind of wrap up things with like the dedicated, the Max fountain that's in the middle of this little town.
In other words, he tells Mike, the justification of what I do is only better than the other bad guys because I say so. It's just who I am, not because I'm giving back with restaurants and jobs and all these other things that are like legit cover-ups. Because he does do that. The other people are doing that. They have like the Salamancas just had a restaurant that was always closed. Yeah. And they just like that was their front.
They just used the front, right? Yeah, like they ate from it, and then maybe like their homies, and that's about it, right? Yeah. It's all a big thing, and you know, Mike even asked Gus at one point because you gotta realize too. Gus was just going to leave Mike out here to heal for a while and wasn't going to really contact him, at least right away. Mike actually made it a point to make sure to contact him. He fandangled some old electronics from around the house, was able to get enough little current to juice up his phone, and give Gus a call. And, of course, Gus pretty much just hung up on his ass. But, you know, that's kind of how he let Gus know that he's up, he's moving. You know, Gus told him to rest. He did. He kind of took some time to chill. And Gus shows up, and Mike just kind of wants to know what the hell is going on. And, you know, am I just working for one drug dealer to hurt another drug dealer? And it's more than that to Gus. And it's because Gus sees something in Mike that's similar to him. And it's this act of
revenge.
Yes.
That's the thing they have in common is the drive for their main goal is to act out their revenge. Get their revenge.
It's perfect because that's what Mike did. Like that's how we built his character in Better Call Saul, learning about his past with his son and everything. And you know, he's still not even over. Obviously, nobody would be over that. But Mike is still really fighting those demons, and we've seen it this season. So things are adding up, and it's making his story definitely.
I have to say it. I'm sure you'll see it pictured up here, but the fountain. Super marble, jet black fountain with rocks inside, different levels, very modern, in the middle of what looks like a time warp, like, you know, 1800s Mexico or something, you know what I mean?
Little Westworld going on, maybe?
Totally.
Yeah.
I just had to throw that in there.
No, it's definitely some stark contrast.
But it just makes sense that Gus made a monument there for, out of all people, that one person, Max.
Well, all in all, Jimmy and Kim's plan has a limit, right? I mean, we find Jimmy in the kitchen concocting a bunch of shit. At one point, Howard actually calls, and Jimmy thinks it's about the car because he's real nervous. It could have actually been, but Howard is so feng shui now, namaste, so to speak, that he just goes straight to asking him about the proposal that he offered Jimmy about working back at HHM, and Jimmy kind of works him around again, and then pulls a Gus, basically hangs up, all right, Howard, and just hangs up on him. So that's kind of Howard this season.
Yeah, he's trying to say, I'm giving it the time it deserves to contemplate, but then...
chew on it.
Yeah, but then when that wasn't enough, he just had to hang up on the guy. But, you know, before Kim comes home, where does she come home from? She's at the meeting at the country club, right?
Right, yeah, that's where all that happened,
with Big Boss Kevin, man.
Yeah, the side sitter, as Jimmy says, and he wants to know all the juicy details when she gets home. So much so that he pushes her to... not only reenact the scene and paint a picture that he wants, but also to speak like Kevin, and he plays Kim, and I guess it really gets his pants tight because he even asked Kim to take a shower. Well, asked Kevin to take a shower as Kim, Jimmy playing Kim. We got some role play going on. Sure, I guess it's hot.
I think it was the best. I mean, I have to say, I think it was the best scene in the whole show.
It was
this
great.
episode.
It was great.
Jimmy dissects Kim's recount of her talk with her boss. But when they, of course, took the person, when she went into the side sitting, he's like, oh, he's a side sitter.
Oh,
and
yeah.
like, oh, he speaks like with this way and all that. She goes, oh, yeah. then when he pretended to be her, he just softened his voice a little bit, and it just reminded me of classic Odenkirk from Mr. Show back in the late 90s. Yeah. I mean, it was what they were doing. They were improvising this recount.
That's pretty much Saul's character altogether, and it's what's funny too. I was just thinking about it. It's like Kim is almost meeting a whole other part of Jimmy that she never knew. Like, she knew Jimmy had that in him, right? And she got little bits here and there when, like, they kind of broke bad together, like little things, like doing the Giselle, which is brought back again. When they, make the guy buy, all the liquor and they get drunk off that expensive tequila, the same tequila that kills the Don later in Breaking Bad, that Gus poisons, all connected.
I'm gonna look that up later. I want to know if that exists.
The tequila with the rose. I think they made it for the show.
Okay.
But it might be something.
Maybe now it's because of the show. It might be.
Hey, Aaron Paul and Bryan Cranston have their own mezcal called Dos Hombres.
Ooh.
Yeah.
We should do a PanNerdia marathon Breaking Bad and drink that.
Like, as it progresses, we're just like, what fuck? Walt, you idiot.
By the time, like, Jesse's crying and driving away, we're just pissed.
Yeah, right. Where were we, though? Yeah. Oh, so yeah. Basically, Kim's seeing a side to Jimmy. She's seeing Saul like full-fledged, and he's giving her everything from, how he can pick people apart and really see who they are, to people he knows in the business. Yeah. He tried calling Mike. Mike's just like, no. There was actually multiple times in this episode where people just hung up on that mother effers.
She did get to see, though, a lot of dimensions of what he really is about. You're right.
Yeah, a lot. Like,
all in one evening.
Because before, she never really saw the inner workings of him. He would just get something done, and then she would see the finished product and be like, oh shit, how'd you do this or that or blah blah blah. And it's him basically showing her the process. And it's a little
risky. Intoxicating for her too. Like,
it's very much so. Yeah, she's really loving it.
She's always played it safe, and she's just got to the point where if he's like, well, you go ahead. I mean, she goes to the board meeting. After the board meeting, there's another outcome and another diabolical plan. But go ahead.
Well, basically, yeah. She loses at the meeting again, where he finally busts like Kevin is, and he's like, I want to go after this guy.
Yeah.
I'm not giving up.
After all the advice from the whole board, like, it's perfect. Just don't build on the guys. Just build right next door.
And he's like,
wasn't having it.
And Jimmy's like, well, you just got to give up, or there's something else, but you should probably pull out. And Kim feeds into it, man. She's like, no.
I thought she just wanted to know. But no, she was like all in before even knowing what it was, because she was like, you know what? Forget, Yeah. She if it means ruining a guy's reputation,
and that's what it is.
What does she fucking care?
Yeah, and that's why Jimmy's like, okay, well, we got to go after him then, because that's what it's about. And he ends up hiring Trevor, aka Steve Ogg, aka the other names he was, Simon in The Walking Dead.
Simon in The Walking Dead,
and,
right?
I forget the guy who he played in Westworld, but one of the hosts.
Yeah.
And this is where, of course, Giselle comes back.
This is a full bearded Stephen Ogg, though.
Yeah,
he's like real,
super
thick. Like, I haven't seen it.
Mountain Man Stephen Ogg. You can get him that thick beard in Grand Theft Auto, by the way. You can get him real Mountain Man looking.
But he had the hair dyed dark all the way on top, though, for this scene in Better Call Saul.
And you guys remember him from Better Call Saul. Of course, he was in the first season back when the pharmacist selling the drugs to Nacho needed a bodyguard. And ended up just getting Mike, but Stephen Ogg was one of them. But that Mike punched him in the throat, if you remember, which was pretty funny. I love that shit. So basically, this guy was essentially a PI. He did investigating. He's a criminal, though, so he went pretty deep, even so much so to break into Kevin's house. And
Kim had to know exactly how he did that, because she just had to know.
Yeah, she has to know things.
And Saul was kind of like ready to push him out the door a couple times, but she goes, nope, I want to know before, because he didn't dig anything up. He's like, he's a Boy Scout. He doesn't have a mistress or a boyfriend or a girlfriend or a bad past or another bank account somewhere. None of those things. His
house safe has, life
and she's
insurance,
like, wait, his house safe with
number 2 bill.
But if she didn't ask, he would have never been like giving her envelope number 1, which was pictures of the guys inside of his house.
Yep, and she wanted to see that, so he got all the pictures. He got all the pictures inside the office.
She's like, how'd you do it?
He got papers on the desk. He's like, yep.
He's like, I set the alarm off and then showed up as the alarm guy. And
perfect.
The lady was like happy comes straight
he
in.
kept shooting it with an airsoft gun to make it go off.
Yeah, that's right. He was using a BB gun.
Yeah. And Saul was actually dismissing him as like, he's like, look, man, you're this is hokey. You're not doing the job right. And then I forget the word he used exactly, but at the end he's like, you really think that now? Because he's very thorough.
But then the second envelope came out, because then she's like, okay, so that's how you got in. He goes, but like, did you get any pictures of anything else besides like some charms he has and trophies or whatever? He's like, oh, well, there's some paperwork on the desk. She's like what? And that kind of left us as a cliffhanger there, because we don't know exactly what, but I think maybe one of those things was eye-opener.
Well, it actually showed the picture that was eye-opener. She was looking at 2 pictures, and they were pictures of trophies and pictures and shit in his office. Yeah. I don't know if there was papers on the desk, though. It was just, she was looking, so she saw something, though, in those pictures. Who knows what it was? She just smiled at Jimmy, and it was like, I got something. So it must be, it's something.
End scene.
That he's doing one of those hiding in plain sight things. Like, he's so clean on the surface, he probably is hiding something. He's a rich guy.
Yeah, there's no way. I mean,
he builds banks.
Of course, he is the bank. Like, why does he care? Of course, he's not going to have anything showing outside of his own private whatever. But the fact that one of my favorite lines was, once Jimmy was done with him, he's like, all right, sergeants, because he was like, well, Stephen Ogg's character was like, well, I could get a couple more guys. Maybe pick him up, take him to the desert. And he goes, all right, enough. They didn't want to hear it as lawyers, like, no, you can't say that out loud to us,
Yeah.
Get the hell out of here. He's like, all right, Sergeant Slaughter, back to the paintball fields for you.
Classic Saul line.
That was the send-off right there.
Real quick and back to react. He just, it's great. I love it. It's just real slick Jimmy stuff. And throwing it out, dishing it out, real old school Chicago style. It was great. And he left pretty happy. He's like, okay, I'm just trying to offer you my services. And they're like, okay, dude, peace. But we don't know what Kim found, but somebody is onto her. And it's her partner at the firm, the one who made her the deal to work at the firm in the first place. Well, Zwicker and Coakley, we have Rich, and Rich is there to kind of tell Kim to back off the case for a minute. And it seems warm-heartedly at first, like almost like, Kim, you seem like you're overworked. Why don't you just pull off the case? You can still, everything's so cool. You still be making all you're making, but we just wanted you to lay off of this. Pull your eyes somewhere else. And she kind of starts taking it as a threat immediately. And it's because, why? Because she's Breaking Bad and she's already very panicked. So anything she's going to be defensive against. And Rich comes in there very condescendingly. At that point, it turns into this condescending thing because he's like, come on, are we really...
Well, she's doing the same thing she's doing with Rich here that she was doing with Ogg's character. I want to know everything now. Put it all out on the table.
And he's kind of like, you know what? You know what's going on. I'm not buying it. And he kind of leaves it at that and walks away. But she doesn't want to leave it at that. And she kind of freaks out and loses her cool, which is not really a Kim thing to do.
It makes you wonder if she made it public out in the hallway on purpose instead of her office or his. But then you realize after her breathing afterwards.
I think it was a little both. I think she did do it impulsively, but as she was doing it, she justified it to herself.
Though.
It wasn't calculated, exactly. But she did justify it to herself in the moment, I think. Being like, yeah, there's people out here. You need to. I want you to call me out right here in front of everybody that what you think really is going on, and it was great. And but it wasn't. It's not cool to see Kim lose her cool because we know at some point this character's leaving the Heisenverse, whether it's dead or alive, and I think it's gonna be alive. But it goes to show that we're thinking this is all gonna push her career. Off the edge, and she's gonna lose her right to be a lawyer. She's gonna get disbarred, and she's probably gonna blame it all on Jimmy and leave Albuquerque. I doubt she stays in Albuquerque, hence why she's not in Breaking Bad. And it's all coming together, whether it ends this season or it's one of the big ending points of the series in general, because only one more season after this. But man, oh man, they're really setting it up, and they kind of have been the whole series. Given those, like we said earlier, Jimmy gave her little bits of who he really was. Yeah. And now she's really figuring out. Now that he's full Saul mode, she's really seeing the inner workings of everything he's doing.
And we're, as fans, seeing the telegraph this is totally telegraphed now. She is on her way out. Something bad's gonna happen. She's gonna blame Jimmy. She's out the door, or something worse.
So here's the thing.
We're all wondering how Kim Wexler will exit.
Yeah, is it just going to be all based off of this, or is this going to get very hairy and she's going to clear through, and then one more final break bad for Kim?
Yeah.
She helps Jimmy deal with the cartel, and that pushes her away. Who knows? But speaking of the cartel, I mean, we got a lot of Gus, we got a lot of Mike, and the recruitment via revenge. But we got no Nacho. We got no Lalo.
No Loco Ocho.
What the heck, man? That's 2 episodes without these guys. Which tells me that they're kind of dragging out their story now. They wanted it to ramp up a little bit the beginning of the season, which was great. They really did a good job. The first 3 episodes of those dudes were amazing. But now what we have, it's episode 6 next week. We have anywhere from 2 to 4 more episodes left of the season. I think 4 probably.
When does Lalo die? That's what I want to know.
If it even dies.
I want him to die. There has to be some sort of glorious death of like a bad guy in this, because we already know the outcomes of all the other bad guys. All the other Salamancas, right?
We do, but the thing is, remember, Jimmy or Saul mentions Lalo and Nacho as if they're alive in Breaking Bad.
But yes, he doesn't have to know.
Yeah, he doesn't know exactly.
Because just like tonight's episode, you had Mike in Mexico and the whole Gus thing, and then on the other side you had Jimmy and Kim and their whole diabolical plan, and how it's not panning out, and now it's a whole new level.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting,
man.
The season's definitely really good. I'm really digging it. I'm excited to see how it goes. I'm curious now how many episodes are in the season. But regardless, it's gonna be a wild ride. Episode 6 next week, guys. Keeping at it with Better Call Saul season 5. Hope you guys enjoyed.
Yeah, watch the show and watch us afterwards.
Sound off in the comments below. What was your favorite part of the episode? What was your least favorite part? Got any predictions going forward? What do you think's gonna happen to Kim? Let us know down below. Give us a like. We appreciate it, and we'll see you guys next week.
We know you got time, and we know you probably also have hand sanitizer. So hey, YouTube hand sanitizer. There you go.
Wash your hands.
Better call soap.
And we'll see you guys later. Peace.